Welcome to the new show, Slaying With Allstin. Today's special guest, Horde Mode Gaming, top Doom news YouTuber. We're going to be breaking down the future of Doom the Dark Ages, what we hope to see, and what we hope changes. So the biggest thing that I'm seeing in everybody's mind is the end game, like the master levels, the Horde Mode, the DLC. Where do you think they're going to go with this?
Honestly, so far it seems like they're really going to aim towards master levels, and I think I heard something about a some sort of Horde mode or a roguelike mode or something like that.
Yeah, the big thing is that people play the game once and they finish it up and they're like, all right, well, what do I do here? If you're a completionist, you might jump back into 100%, but if not, you want something extra that like maybe Eternal launched with. And master levels are a good way to do that.
Eternal had what, like Arc Complex and the cultist-based master level at launch. Eternal and battle mode. So Eternal didn't have like a whole lot at launch, but it did have enough to keep people coming back and playing and mastering the experience. And I don't know how much people really play battle mode at launch. I know it wasn't ever all that popular, but it still had enough to keep people coming back. So I know they're not aiming for that. It's more of a strictly single player experience. They want you to just kind of play it and then go about your day. But I do think it needs some of that extra content to keep it going.
It does, because when you get those two master levels, you now understand the concept, like, this is a master level, this is what it plays like, we're going to make more of them, so stick around. People coming into Dark Ages fresh, which they do exist, I saw it on Reddit, they don't have that concept yet. They've never felt a master level, and really, now we see where they can go with it. And it's a really fresh way. They already have the base of the level, they have to add on top of it. But it's become a pillar, almost.
That's a very good point I didn't even think about. Because new people coming in to Eternal, they saw the master levels, they knew there were probably more of those coming. You have no idea what's coming with Dark Ages, or if anything's coming at all if you're like a new player. That's a very good point.
And they could do new things on master levels that they've never done before, which we'll talk about all these cool things, maybe do a little quick fire round later in the show, but we got to hit the biggest points, not just master levels, but a Horde mode, your namesake, giving someone not an endless way to play. Master levels, they are finite. They have an ending. A campaign has an ending. A Horde mode, your skill is the ceiling.
I personally think they really fumbled Eternal's Horde mode, and I know that's probably like ironic coming from Horde mode gaming, but it wasn't infinite. One of the things that gives a Horde mode longevity and the ability for you to just come back at any point is that endlessness, the ability to kind of figure out the map, figure out the spawns, the layout, figure out everything, and kind of, I wouldn't say master the experience, but it's like you always learn new things, you come up with new strategies. It just gives you a reason to come up and keep playing the game. With Eternal's Horde mode, I think I played through it enough to get all the achievements and rewards, and I made a few guides on it. I haven't come back to it since then. I played anytime I needed footage when I talked about news, and that's it.
Yeah.
I think not doing an endless Horde mode was the biggest like late game update fumble in Eternal, and I think they need to rectify that, especially early on this time.
And it was adjusted month by month too. A Slayer score one month was not a Slayer score the next month. Things were different. It was a mini campaign, mini game arcade mode, like 2016 but expanded, not a true Dusk Horde mode. Dusk did it really well. I don't know if you played that, but it's a fantastic game. You know, I would highly recommend playing it. It's that longevity. Multiplayer games do that so well, is that you play with your friends, you have something fresh and new every experience. I'll run through a campaign 50 times on a Doom game, at least. Like, it's so nice, but not everyone wants to do that, and I get that.
Yeah, exactly. I think that is what the game needs right now. Let's see, console Eternal doesn't have mod support, but if you were to add something like an endless Horde mode, you could keep people coming back with that. People could keep coming, trying to get higher scores, trying to learn the map better, stuff like that. And the same exact thing goes for Dark Ages. I don't know if they're going to do mod support. I don't think any of us know if they're doing. I don't think modders know if they're doing mod. I don't even know if id Software knows if they're doing mod support.
I'd like it.
Yeah, I think we would all like it, but especially console mod support. So if they're not gonna be doing anything like that, they definitely need like a infinite mode. Or I don't really know what a roguelike mode would be. I'm not a huge roguelike fan, but Horde mode, I guess that's kind of up my alley. I would say Horde mode for sure.
Well, a roguelike could be like procedurally generated levels to where it changes every time you get a different weapon at the start. Maybe next time you get this weapon or that weapon, to where each experience through the game is different. You have to adapt like a randomizer almost, which is another hugely popular mod suggestion, the randomizer.
Oh yeah, I think. All right then, roguelike mode. Let's go for it. I think that sounds good. As long as it is levels changing. I think one of Eternal's Horde mode's biggest flaws was the lack of like a level rotation. It was always the same 3 levels, the same handful of arenas. They really needed some sort of like, even just a rotation system. Maybe every month it would change between a select pool of levels or something that would flow together pretty well.
And it's that too. It's not just a campaign that it's bad, but you take something that gives you infinite replayability, only limited by your skill. And something kind of else you can look at is a DLC. We know that's coming. We don't know if it's 1, if it's 2, or how long the levels are going to be. What's your take?
I believe on one of the recent Hugo streams, someone suggested 11 levels, and his reaction to it gave me the impression that was like way too long.
Yeah,
so I'm thinking
DLC?
We're probably yeah. However, the levels are shorter in Dark Ages, but they also said, I don't remember exactly what it was. I don't want to like put words in Hugo's mouth.
Right.
But it was something along the lines of like the DLC levels were a little too long for some people. So I figure if they just do 1 expansion pack, I can definitely see like maybe 7 standard levels and a mech level, or maybe 6 standard levels and a mech level, something like that.
Yeah, you look at that and say UAC Atlantic is pretty long. And the actual Dark Ages levels are shorter than you think if you go from point A to point B. The Carthul Marshes, there are 2 required fights up top and 1 down below. That's it. You can beat that in like 7 minutes, not an hour. And you're already going to be maxed at the DLC probably, so there's no progression system to go through. You're just basically playing Act 3 onward, which is the best combat, I think, when you go to the end of the game.
For sure.
It's a new story, too, because Hugo said that we're going to have a new story rather than just continuing where we left off. So I'm curious to see that angle of it. If it'll be a war, if it'll be betrayal, or what it could be.
I don't necessarily think he meant that as literally as he said it. I think it's more of just like, I figure it'll pick up close to where the story left off, but not in a way that's like, you really need... I don't know how they're going to continue past Eternal, but the DLC, no matter what they do, the DLC is like a requirement to understand what happens after Eternal, and maybe they won't do that again. Maybe you won't need to play the Dark Ages DLC to understand what comes next or something.
Yeah, because the DLC in Eternal was not just like a sidestep, but it was a stepping stone forward into the canon of Doom, the lore.
Yeah.
I'd never thought about that. That's a good one.
I feel like this one might just be like, see, like Dark Ages was its own contained chapter. The DLC will probably be another contained chapter, and then whatever, because I think Hugo has mentioned in like pre-launch interviews, they do want to do more medieval Doom if people like it. So I could see them doing another storyline, but having it like a few years after Dark Age, because he stayed with the Sentinels for a very long time. There's a lot of content to cover. They can jump into the future a year or so and still have tons of stuff. They could probably have another 2 or 3 games worth of stuff to cover from his time with the Sentinel. So I think it'll probably be a more contained chapter of the Slayer's time with the Sentinels.
And not just like writing him into the sarcophagus, because that ends that storyline right there. There are many different branches that can go off on this tree. The Argenta War, Civil War, Betrayal, since we know about Marek now and how he looks over at Vale and all that. There's a lot of angles they can hit with it. And when you play these games, you have to put the combat at the core. And when we look at sliders, I've been playing the slow-mo slider. It takes out all the slow-mo except for the Outland and Dragon, and it feels fantastic. And people want to see that.
Really hoping they do official slow-mo sliders, because as a console player, I would love to try that out. But my PC just can't handle it. And I know a lot of people are in the same boat where they don't have a PC or a gaming laptop that can handle it, so they're stuck on console, and they really want something like no slow-mo or weapon bind stuff, type stuff.
Yes, the weapon bind thing, the customized weapon wheel. Like, I want to go to my shotgun and get my super shotgun out, but it pulls my regular out. But I also have like the switch weapon class button that'll swap it. I just want to go to the gun that I want to go to at the time I want it.
Yes, and we're at a very, I would say, an odd point post-launch where a lot of features that are requested are kind of, they're mods, but they're not in the game in an official capacity yet. So we're just kind of waiting around. There's a lot of different stuff like that. I know my fellow console players, mouse and keyboard support on console is a big thing. They didn't have that for 2016 or Eternal. I think it's, if I remember correctly, it was because of multiplayer. They didn't want people having such a huge advantage in multiplayer modes. There's no multiplayer, and from what we understand, they have no plans of doing multiplayer. I think it's beyond time they do mouse and keyboard support.
Yeah, and when you integrate something like that, sure, it could be leaderboards and impact that. It's not a big deal, I feel like. But people have asked before, well, look at these modders making the modded master levels, releasing them quickly left and right. Why can't id do that? Well, id Software has to do an official release across multiple platforms. They release it. People are going to complain about bugs. They have to get that fixed. It's different than someone's project that they can release, fix it up if they need to. It's on a smaller scale versus an official game release.
Yeah, it is a lot different. And I think people, not to like badmouth the community or anything, but I do think people have a hard time understanding that, like, what someone in their free time can do, someone who knows like basic coding and stuff, isn't necessarily the same as what id Software can do. There are procedures, rules, there are steps they have to take, there's some things they can and can't do, and it's I would imagine it's different on their end than just cooking up a mod really quick.
Approvals,
but yeah, approvals. There's a lot of stuff like that, but there is still a lot of stuff this time around that I think we ought to get. Photo mode is a thing that's currently missing.
Yeah, and Eternals was beta too, because you get those sweet screenshots. Photo mode became a game in and of itself, because that's what people would focus on, like, how can I get this screenshot? A friend was spending 2 hours getting a pinky shot in Doom 2016 to make it look like he ate the soldier. Like, there's a whole art to, well, art. I guess that's why it's art.
It's kind of ironic that the first, like, fully cinematic Doom game to release, I guess maybe you could call Doom 3 like a cinematic Doom game, but the first, like, fully cinematic one doesn't have photo mode at launch.
Yeah.
I think I know typically photo mode isn't like a big thing, right? It's never on anyone's, I mean, obviously a few people, but most people, it's not at the top of their list. It's more of a bonus feature, probably a bonus feature for the devs as well. I think this one needs it. I think if anything, Dark Ages needs it more than Eternal or 2016.
It does. I mean, there's a lot of things that we need as well. Like, we'll get into the lightning round here in a minute too, but we look at the density of the fodder, the enemies, and the combat. We have the pulverizer. It's meant to shred the masses, but we don't have as many masses as we need to shred.
Yeah, I'm currently cooking up a video on that, like a whole thing. But before launch, there is, I think, 1 or 2 Hugo interviews where he mentioned very high fodder density in the later levels, where you just kind of go in there and you just mow them down to make room to go, stand and fight with the big guys. And that's just kind of non-existent in most parts of the final game. You go in there and it's like lines of shield soldiers and groups of fodder that are meant for resource farming, for get your ammo back to your melee and stuff. I feel like maybe not necessarily in the base campaign, but definitely in master levels, they really need to go back and fix that. They need to add high fodder density, because I like that. I like the idea of being able to equip the pulverizer and just run through a whole room, clear it out, and then fight a Baron or a bunch of Mancubi or something like that. And that's just not in the game right now.
It's the point of each gun has a strength to itself, and that is a strength. And we look at this pre-release footage, there's enemies scattered all around the fields. And maybe that didn't work when they tested it. Maybe they said this just doesn't fit. But the whole pride of the Dark Ages engine was that it could have so much on the screen at once. Of course, you don't want every fodder enemy doing 75 damage fireballs in Doom 2016, but there's got to be a balance and still be fun. The fun zone.
They have, I completely agree with that. They have, they've really set the game up for a lot more like heavy demons on screen at once. I feel like there's a lot of areas where that falls flat. You'll face a Mancubus and a Revenant and a Hell Knight or two, compared to what you're really capable of is taking on 3 Mancubi and 2 Arachnotrons, and I feel like they could really go crazy in just the base campaign. I think it's probably one of the most common opinions about the game is that it is a little too easy on default sliders. I feel like even on the harder sliders, or even taking harder sliders into consideration, they could still do a lot more to increase enemy density, enemy count, and make it more of like an active battle. They do have a lot more enemies on screen at once, but the majority of them are fodder. You're still fighting just like the same 1 or 2 Mancubi, stuff like that in any given arena.
Or it may be the other enemies will kind of sit back, depending on your aggression, the token system, and they'll chill out, they'll wait for their turn, their token, take it from a friend. We don't see 2 or 3 Komodo fights yet. We didn't see 2, 3, 5 Marauders until DLC, so it's a possibility.
I will say, personally, I don't think I necessarily want to wait until the DLC or even master levels to start seeing stuff like increased fodder density. To me, that was a promised feature at launch. I looked forward to having those sort of classic Doom battles where it's like a bunch of imps and soldiers and shotgunners and chain gunners, and then you have like a Hell Knight in the background and a Caco Demon and a Revenant, and you have to chew through the small guys to get to the big guys. I like that. That's I know that's not for everyone, but that's my kind of gameplay. I enjoy that, and I do think it's unfortunate that it's not in game right now.
Hugo did say it would be like a war, and it really that would help accentuate that war feeling. Having this sandbox game be wide open and making changes to balance can impact that sandbox too, such as a Mancubus AoE. And you have some thoughts on that, don't you?
Yes, we were talking about that earlier. On one of Under the Mayo streams, I think Hugo mentioned they want to, well, I'm not gonna, again, don't want to put words in Hugo's mouth, right. So nothing like confirmed, nothing official, and it's still stuff they test out. But I believe Hugo mentioned, or at the very least Mayo mentioned, removing the parry, I don't know what you call it, the parry functionality of the Mancubus area of effect attack. Whenever you get up close and personal, and he activates his ground stomp, and you can parry it. And they mentioned removing that. I don't think we need to start doing stuff like that. I think when you have this sandbox that you have all these tools and these abilities and these enemies that kind of let you bounce off of them, you can empower yourself and charge yourself up with all of these enemy attacks and stuff with the parries. I don't think we need to start going in and like removing parries. Part of the fun of Dark Ages, to me at least, is having that option there, having the ability to charge up to a Mancubus, parry him, super shotgun him, and turn him into like a red mist in an instant. And I think instead of trying to balance that where the Mancubus you can't parry the Mancubus area of effect attack anymore, I think they should try to remedy that by maybe putting another Mancubus in the arena.
Yeah, to the variety of it, yeah.
Because if the problem is that enemies are dying too quickly in a game where you're supposed to be fighting tons of enemies, the solution shouldn't be make the enemies, the time to kill on enemies slower. It should just be to add more enemies, because you can take that, you can handle that now. So instead of being like, okay, we want this Mancubus to take longer to kill, keep that Mancubus easy to kill, but add 2 more of them.
Yeah, that way because one criticism is that fights are too short. You get in, the heavy music's kicking in, and then the heavy music's over because you killed him.
Yeah,
and it's done.
That's a kind of a problem.
There's a lot of balancing too, like there's a recent talk about taking one of the swipes of the Agadon Hunter and making it a block that doesn't hurt you much, but then if you miss the parry after that, you're punished. So we still want those gameplay mechanics to stay. I don't want every enemy to be the same bash, super shotgun, bash, super shotgun. So there has to be a variety, some skill in creating openings like the frag and the ice and eternal, but like you said, to give you the freedom to play within the game's systems in a variety of ways.
I don't want to be like, well, first of all, I agree with the Agadon change. I think having the super heavy demons have these abilities that just need to be blocked and can't be parried, like that's perfectly fine. They're super heavy demons, that makes a lot of sense. Heavy demons are often treated almost like fodder in the Dark Ages. I think the Imp Stalkers classify as heavies. I know Hell Knights do, and they are basically fodder demons. I mean, it takes nothing to kill a Hell Knight. So I really do think... I don't remember. I kind of lost my my flow on this one.
Well, if you take a look at the enemies and their purposes, this was mentioned in my stream chat. The Imp Stalkers are now the classic Caco demons, and the Knights may be this enemy. That each enemy fills the void of a classic enemy. Like the Imp Stalkers, they might body block you. Their Cacos are not too hard, but not too easy. Each enemy should have a different purpose, and Super Heavies have their own. Look at Cosmic Barons, 150% game speed, no slow mode. They're scary. They have a purpose.
Terrifying.
They do. I think, too, let's take a look from a balance perspective at a lightning round, some other changes. So what we're going to do with the lightning round on the show, we're going to throw topics back and forth at each other, and we're just going to blast them out real quick. First thing that comes to mind. Nothing long, just short and sweet. I'll let you go first. Are you ready for the lightning round?
Am I ready for the lightning round? I'm not so sure.
Let's see if you
want to start us off?
Yes. So throw a topic at me.
Throw a topic at you.
Yes.
Minimap.
That would be good, because a lot of the times I'm opening my auto map and closing it to try to find the secret, and then I have to hit an extra button to get to close. Finding things in the game is a little tricky. But yeah, this would help to me to take a quick glance. Okay, I need to go here. I need to go there. I can toggle it on, toggle it off with the press of a key. I think that would be very handy. All right, for you.
Completely agree. I think the toggle option, absolutely, for the minimap.
Has to be. Okay, community challenges with skin rewards. Throw it at you. Catch it.
Yes, absolutely. I think people, well, I personally don't need anything to keep me coming back to the game. I get tons and tons of comments from people who really want that. They really want that sort of that like community aspect and the challenge and reward aspect. People want to earn community. They want to do community challenges. They want to earn rewards from doing challenges. They want monthly skins and stuff. I really think there needs to be Eternal and 2016 both had community challenges. I don't think 2016's had any sort of rewards or Eternals. Eternal did have a Hot Rod community challenge where I think once we got that, everyone got the Hot Rod Twitch exclusive skin for free.
Yes, I remember now.
Yes. Think we should bring those back, maybe monthly or bi-monthly, and have like as through the milestones, maybe a few weapon skins, and at the end a new Slayer skin. No model changes needed. I know people want those, but I think most people would be satisfied with just some really high quality like recolors, like the one you get for like the Bethesda opt-in program where it's covered in blood. Absolutely.
Yeah, it gives you something to shoot for, something extra. Say, hey, I got this, I did this, I earned it. And it doesn't impact your combat. Like, you can do the community challenge, kill enemies with super shotgun. It lets you think about how you want to use the SSG, use a weapon that you don't normally use.
Honestly, just really hoping to see some good stuff in the future. I hope they get going with it and get to a good flow. It's been about a month since the game released, I believe, or maybe over a month now.
Yeah.
And there's not been a whole lot outside of balancing changes. One huge thing I wanted to mention, if Hugo Martin or anyone at id Software is watching this, we really need some sort of changelog in the main menu of the game.
Yeah.
I think having, especially with the new active tunable system, I do not think it's a good idea to just keep that stuff in the Slayers Club and on the social media tabs. I have people who come to my videos who did not know about this stuff because they don't remember to check the Slayers Club or don't know about it, and they don't remember to check the Doom socials, so they're always surprised when their weapons work different or there's new enemies in the arena, and they want to know about it. I think we need not just like a QR code scan thing, but with each update, I think even the tunables, there needs to be an in-game changelog on the main menu. I feel like that's probably the most important thing they could add right now.
People go on Reddit, they're like, oh, no wonder, I thought I just sucked today. And it's like, oh, there was a change that made it harder. So that's a good thing to definitely have there, and hopefully they see it there. And another lightning round for you. Are you ready for it?
Yes.
Why should you subscribe to Horde Mode Gaming?
Constant news updates. I'm telling you, hold on. I can take a gander at my own channel here. I've got tons of shorts on the concept art and cut content of the Dark Ages, mostly concept art. So if you're a really big fan of like the concept process, design process behind the games, I go over a lot of that sort of stuff, and I'll keep you up to date.
I did not tell you I was going to ask you that, but that's okay. Because
I think I did pretty well.
Well, I would say where do they go if they want to check you out, but we'll have the channel in the description there. Horde Mode Gaming, thank you for joining. We're going to be signing off. This is going to sound cheesy, but you've been Slaying with Allstin. I'm going to keep that in there. We're not going to cut that out. Thank you for watching.